of doors closing is not the byproduct of someone in sync with what they want. Mm-hmm. It's the byproduct of someone with split energy, mm-hmm. who knows sort of what they want and knows that that isn't it. In other words, this is a very common thing, to have split energy on a myriad of subjects within you. And it comes about in very simple forms, just by saying things like, I want that, but I'd like to have more money, but money doesn't grow on trees. I'd like more money, but there's no money in my history, and there's no money going to be left to me, and it's not likely that I would win a lottery ticket, and so I will always be working for so much per hour. And I'd like more money, but you've got to have more of an education to have more money, and I don't feel like doing what it would take to do to get more money, and so I want more money. But in other words, there is a equal or greater beating of the drum of why the money isn't going to come, as there is statements of desire that I want more money. And we see so many humans who get very good at sort of balancing that all out. And by good at it, we don't mean it takes you to a better place. We just mean you get better and better and better at not expecting things to change. And that is sort of what results in those doors closing. Because for a door to close, it has to be partially open. So, and otherwise we wouldn't be talking about doors at all.
You're spot on. I mean, this is what I've been.
So there's a desire that's opening a door, and then there's a belief that's closing the door, and then there's a desire that's opening the door, and then there's a belief or a statement that's closing the door. Mm-hmm. And so if you would just do the things that are opening the doors and stop doing the things that are closing the doors, there would just be open door, open door, open door, and you would just be skipping along through this path that's unfolding beautifully before you. Mm-hmm. And the thing that you're doing that's opening the doors is appreciating and praising and doing things that say and feel optimistic, and the things that are closing the doors are things that feel the other way. In other words, the way you feel when you say them is your hint about whether it's a door opening or whether it's getting closer to a door closing, you see. Mm-hmm. We think that a lot of you, and you're certainly doing it, and we understand it, and it's just fine. But there are so many who you become accurate historians, and we think it's because you've had so many people that are interested in you and how you're doing, that you have conversations with, and you keep sort of explaining where you are as if they could understand anyway,
or really care.
And yet you practice in your mind this sort of explanation, and it comes out in the form of justification. And we believe that the basis for this desire to keep justifying or explaining where I am is because at some level of my being I know that I ought to be doing better, because at some level of my being I remember that I'm source energy, and I remember the promise that this life held for me. And there is something so deeply annoying about recognizing on some level that things are supposed to be going well and then noticing that they aren't. And so you develop clever ways of trying to deal with that by saying, well, doors are closing. And there are a lot of people, we hear it often in this format, where people who are attempting to make lemonade out of the lemon, so to speak, or they're attempting to say, well, it probably wasn't the best thing for me, and that's why it didn't unfold. And we want to say, well, that may very well be, because there are always lovely things for you. But things ought to be unfolding. Don't take no for an answer. Don't let yourself pinch yourself off from the well-being that you want and deserve. Finally, you've just got to get very powerful in your intentions that say, I am a very worthy person, and it's time that I start proving that to myself. I live in a universe that has the basis of well-being. It's time that I start proving that to myself. I've got to stop arguing for my limitations. I've got to stop justifying why things are not going better. And analogies, clever and cute as they are, about doors closing is still beating the drum of things not going the way I want them to go. When at any point in time, you've got this fresh, clear start. You don't have to explain nothing to nobody. You get to say, here's where I am, and from where I am, the view's quite clear, and from where I am, I think what I prefer is. So then the question that we would put to you is, What do you prefer? Do you like living in somebody else's house, or do you want your own house?
Oh, I want my own home. But I have many opportunities before me, and you're spot on with the split mind, the split desires. I don't feel any, and this is very unusual for me because I usually feel things rather quickly, and for 2.5 years I don't feel any of these opportunities as being a true opportunity for me. And so I'm out in the desert between Yuma and Phoenix.
Well, here's the thing that we think so many of our students of deliberate creation, whether they're new to us or old to us, or whether they're getting their information from someplace else, here's the thing that we notice is off in their perspective of this. So often they say, well, I've lived life and now here I am, and I've sort of cleared things out, and now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to find my place. I'm ready to be who I came to be. I'm ready to follow my guidance. And they think that somebody else has figured out who they are or who they should be, who will guide them in the right direction. Sort of like an inner being or a God or a guardian angel or somebody up there knows, and I'm waiting for the sign. And what we want to say to you is, make a decision and then make the decision right. Don't wait for, that would be like somebody sculpting clay and taking the big clump of clay and splatting it down and then just waiting. And someone says, aren't you going to mold it? And they would say, I'm waiting for a sign. I'm waiting for someone to tell me if it should have a head and a nose or if it should be something else. And what we want to say in this analogy is, you've already got the idea in your mind. You've lived enough life that you know what it is you want to do with this clay. And it won't be the only clay that you ever get to play with anyway. So get your hands in it. Make a decision about what you want. Make a decision and then make it the right decision by becoming a vibrational match to it. That's how you get things moving, you see. All of these opportunities that you say don't feel like the right one, they don't have any compelling energy around them because you say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. I want it to be right, but what if it's wrong? I'd like to find something meaningful but don't want to do corporate America. I'd like to do that, but it reminds me of something I don't like. I'd like to do that, but it reminds me of something else I don't like. And so when you're doing that, then nothing gets any momentum and nothing calls you. And then you say, well, I'm waiting for a sign. And well, we said that. But what we want you to begin to understand is that you create your own reality. So you have some experiences that just sort of stir you up. And as the experience stirs you up, it launches some rockets of desires. And there are all of these desires that are there. And you say, yes, Abraham, I've been listening to you today. And I understand that there's this wonderful life for me out there in vibrational escrow that I want to get in sync with. But I don't know which way to go. And we say, you can go any direction and get in sync with that wonderful stuff that's being held for you in vibrational escrow. It's not in one job. It's not in one place. The potential for the fulfillment of all of that wonderful stuff is everywhere you want to go. You could live on any city on the planet and find fulfillment. You could be with nearly every partner on the planet and find fulfillment. In other words, you make too much, all of you, where you're really getting a dose of it here, and it's not just meant for you, it's meant for everyone. You make too much of trying to frame out the perfect life. You really put yourself in a crippling place when you stand here and say, I am the deliberate creator of my own experience, and I've got to get everything figured out from where I am forever, evermore. That'll make you sort of want to stand here and work longer. And we say, just get moving in something that feels like the approximate direction of where you want to go, and pick up more data along the way, which will help you to firm up your decisions about what you want. And if it doesn't feel good, then try to make it feel better. And pretty soon soon, wherever you are and whatever you're doing will begin to feel like magnificent life experience. And for heaven's sake, stop trying to compare the way your life is framing out with anybody else's. In other words, you're different from all of them. You're living a different life from them. We think that's the rebellion you have about corporate America. Corporate America tends to sort of want you to all, not always, and it's too big of a statement, but there is a lot of similarity in the way people behave within it, even though there is enormous diversity even under that label.
You have just described my life right now to an absolute T. I mean, it's what's been swirling in my mind. And Abraham, I just haven't been able to get out of it because in the past, I've lived my life the way you're describing. I have an idea, I go for it, I give it my all, it succeeds, it's wonderful, it works. And then when the doors started closing, I took that as a sign that, because I had this yearning inside of me to do something that was of service more, that since we spend so many hours a day at work, there wasn't much time left over to do anything in terms of giving back. So I did this grandiose, I've been out in this void and been feeling good about it, have stretched myself beyond the absolute limits.
All right, now we're going to give you something really big here. Who are you giving back to? And the reason we ask the question is because we know the big answer. But
hit me with it.
Everyone has access to the same infinite, never-ending, eternal, non-physical resources. So there's no shortage anywhere. So when you say, I want to give something back, can you hear, in light of what we've been talking about all day here today, that your exposure to the contrast and the subsequent asking that is born out of that is more giving back than you ever could have imagined? Because in your willingness to experience the contrast, you conjure the questions that summon the all that is forward. Did you get that? In other words, your willingness to explore the contrast and give birth to the questions and desires and preferences that are happening within you is literally the summoning point of life. The expansion of the universe depends upon it. We think you are worthy because of it, you see. But what man means when man says give back is, well, I think that I've been living so much joy, which means you're in the flow. When you're living a joyful life, that means you finally got in sync. The cycle is finally complete in the way. You experienced the contrast, you gave birth to the desire, you became a vibrational match to the desire, and the universe yielded into your experience in full blossoming bloom, the manifestation of the things that you launched in terms of creation and got up to sync with. Did you hear that? It was a mouthful. It is so powerful the way this universe continues to unfold. And so you got in the flow of things and you allowed the universe to yield to you in the way that it always does. But then you look around and you see someone else not reaping the benefits, and then the idea of service for most people is, well, I've just been blessed too much. I should withhold some of the blessings that have been coming to me and shunt them or shuttle them over to somebody who's not getting them. And we say, good luck in that one. Universal forces can't force them to let the good stuff in. You're not going to be able to. You're depriving yourself of your clarity and your balance, and your material creation is not going to for a moment allow somebody else who's resistant to the idea of having it. In other words, you never say, oh, I've been well for so long, I think I'll be sick for the next 10 years so that some poor sick fool can be well for a while. You never say that, because you do not believe that their wellness is being squandered by you, selfish being. How dare you be so well for so long and let the others be sick? What's the matter with you? You should become one of service. You should get sick and let them be well. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Because you know that it is not based on that. And so when someone says, I'm going to be of service, we say the best service that you could be to anyone is to get in there and love life and let your life cause you to desire things, and again, get up to speed with what you desire and create through the clarity of your example the abundance of this universe, you see. And so That's who you are. You're a
I
teacher
love you.
of
Thank you.
that. Yes.